Estimating in an agile environment. A potentially controversial topic. I'm going to make it even more challenging by trying to explain some of the basic concepts around estimating product backlog items in just a few minutes. We could spend hours, maybe even a number of days, diving deeper into this, but let me try to hit the basic understanding that is needed to proceed. First of all, I'd like to thank those who have gone before me, Hubert Smits, Mike Cohn, many others who have explored this topic in much more detail than I have. But I have learned a few things along the way on my own. One of the things that I've learned is that there are no problems with teams estimating in hours and days unless the organization abuses or misuses that information. It's an unfortunate history. Estimating in hours and days had been the traditional way of understanding the size of work. And by the way, the Scrum Guide says we only need to understand the size of the work. There's no prescription on any particular technique for estimating. And again, historically, measuring work in hours and days, which can also be viewed as measuring work in concrete understandings, numbers that can be measured, is a very reasonable way of approaching a better understanding of the work. But organizations, again, have misused and abused those types of estimates. So, for example, I might say that a particular request will take me about 5 days to complete. Now, one of the abuses of that information would be if after that work has been completed, someone comes over to me with a clipboard and a report to tell me, well, your actuals indicate it took you 6 days. You estimated the work at 5. I need to know why it took 6 for my deviation report. That's a dysfunctional question because the person asking the question missed completely that this is an estimate, not a commitment. Another way that we can misuse those types of estimates would be, in a very similar example, I estimate a piece of work to take 5 days, and then someone goes ahead and schedules me to deliver that next week. 5 days should take about a week. No, not necessarily. 5 days of effort does not necessarily translate into a week's worth of calendar time. This is a misuse of information where the estimate is translated into a schedule. In my example, it might take a month of time to complete 5 days of effort because there are dependencies and paperwork and SLAs waiting for responses, etc. I have seen, however, some very successful Agile teams estimate in hours and days because the organization did not abuse or misuse those estimates. I understand there's also a concern about estimating in hours and days because they tend to be more individualized. I think this will take me 5 days. Agile environments look for something that's more team-based where as a cross-functional collective, we agree on how much effort something might take. Let's move into some of these agile thoughts around those concrete and measurable estimates. Well, what if instead we can move to a form of estimating that is less concrete and measurable and more relative and abstract?